Okay, so when I think about my friendship with Pat, we've been through a lot together, but one of the things we share is such a love of nature. And I love witnessing this in her and sharing plants with her. And some of my fondest memories of Pat are in the woods together. And she introduced me to a few trees that whenever we walk by them, she wraps her arms around and just closes her eyes and leans her face up against the bark and loves these trees. And then I also think about her feeding the birds, and I'm remembering a particular snowstorm, and the snow was so high. And in order to fill bird feeder, she put on snowshoes. And so I took a picture at that time of Pat in her snowshoes, this intrepid person feeding the birds throughout the winter.
The word that I picked was undaunted.
Undaunted.
Undaunted. And I thought about going to talk to some landlords about renting a house, and they said, you can't live in that house. The roof leaks. It needs to be replaced. And Pat said, well, if you give us the shingles, we'll put them on. So we did. And then we went shopping for a place to live, and the realtor said, well, I've got a great piece of land, but there's no building on it. You can't live there. And Pat said, well, we'll put up tents for the summer and we'll build a yurt. And we did. And then she wanted to apply to chiropractic school and settled on her school. And the Maine Chiropractic Board said, if you go to that school, we won't license you to practice chiropractic in Maine. And Pat said, well, that's okay. I'll just go to the Midwest and practice out there until you smarten up. And she did. And my guess is that kind of perseverance has been going on ever since. And so the other word I would use for Pat is inexhaustible.
Inexhaustible. I like that. Yeah.
So that's my story.
Okay. We're recording now. Okay.
I think the quality that I love most about Pat is her gracious, generous, authentic manner of meeting not just people, but life. So she has such an enthusiasm for life and such a beautiful way of perspective and perceiving life. And I always learn something when I spend a little time with Pat. And, we met 30 years ago at a holistic health fair. We were both just launching our practices, and we've been colleagues. But I would say that about 15 years ago, we re-encountered each other really more as friends. And I'm so grateful, Pat, for that friendship. It's been wonderful. The story I want to tell is it's a story that occurred in Ireland. We had just arrived in Ireland. Pat has done various, am I supposed to be talking to you or to Pat?
Talk to Pat.
Yeah, so Pat, remember when we were in Ireland and everybody was really jet lagged, and you were kind of wandering around Glanfia. We had just arrived and people were sort of finding their ways. And I had to go out to Seven Sisters Stone Circle to make sure we could get in there. And you said, oh, can I come? And I said, oh, that would be great. So you and I and Jean made our way out and walked out to the Seven Sisters Stone Circle. And it was like the three of us walked in to a fairy realm, and you were absolutely lit up with excitement. And just, I think it was just one of the most exquisite times. We didn't say much, the three of us. We just visited with the stones. And it was really sacred, but it was also very fun. I mean, we could really feel the energy of the fairy realm there. And that's very precious memory that I have. And then another one is I had lost my lease of where my holistic center was. Pat, you remember this? And all of your renters had sort of left your center. And we didn't know this, but we were encountering one another. And almost at the same time, you mentioned coming to be at Sanctuary. And I said, well, actually, Sanctuary needs to find a new home. And at that moment, we just knew that synchronicity had worked very, very well for us. And we have been spending time as colleagues sharing common healing space ever since. And so that's a really favorite memory. And I just, as I said, I've had so many wonderful talks and walks and dinners and precious times with you, Pat. My heart is very full with our friendship, and I know that it's your birthday, and I wish you tremendous joy as you begin this next cycle of life. And I pray for all of us, but I mostly pray for you, Pat, that 2021 is a year of great joy, because you've had a year of significant losses, and your heart is open to let that light of joy in. And I hope that you have amazing blessings of happiness and joy and peace and health and freedom, and that we get to spend a whole lot more time walking and talking and sharing our friendship. I bow to you. Namaste, dear wise woman, with so much love on your birthday. May it be a joyous day for you. Blessed be.
Now?
Now.
Okay. Happy birthday, Patricia Chanterelle. I love you so much. And what I wanted to say to you is the quality that most has touched me is sort of a state of being. And it's something that I've learned from you, so it's experience too. And it's hard to talk because my tooth broke off yesterday. So I'm getting a new tooth, but I think I can enunciate this. It's the quality or the state of being of incarnation and embodiment. And you may not realize it, but you taught me all that. And we never talked about this much. And it goes back, how old is Coriana? About 35 years. And we had experienced a lot before then. And I had just come back from the Mideast and Europe, and you were 2 weeks until the birthing. And it found me in a lot of disbelief and shock because I hadn't been there with you during the whole pregnancy. And as you know, I've never understood, and I had never grasped the whole experience of incarnation and embodiment. And there you were, so committed and courageous and with so much passion and love beyond any love I had ever seen or experienced before, and so determined to be a vessel and a vehicle for this soul coming through. It was a tough experience, we all know, on the physical plane, but what that connection did for me, being a part of more your spiritual support there at that point, was give me that gift and the belief that we're here to be fully human and fully divine and truly to embody all that we are a part of, all that is creation, whatever you want to call that. We've talked about the Christ many times. And I think of Coriana as Coriana the Christ, and you, Pat the Christ. We're all our different versions of the Christ. But I'm not sure what everybody's birthing experiences might be like, only mine and yours and a few others that I helped with. But yours was the one that impacted me, and maybe it's kept me on earth this long. And I think definitely it opened my doors to bringing in the soul that I brought in a year and a half later. So that's the one thing I wanted to tell you amongst a million others, and I love you so much. There will never be another you. I love your light and your joy, and it's always with me.
Hi, Pat. This is for you. First of all, I want to acknowledge Scott, whose choice to create this special gift for you on your 70th birthday is such a clear testament to your loving family. So thanks for making this happen. In gathering memories of our friendship over the years, the two of your many distinctive qualities that I want to highlight are your sense of adventure and ability to listen deeply. I think back fondly to our summer adventures in Maine, including camping and biking on the Schoodic Peninsula, staying at Tide Mill Farm and hiking the Bold Coast, trying out a hostel in Deer Isle, taking a mailboat to Isle of Ho for a hike, as well as spontaneously attending a tribute concert for Leonard Cohen, and many more. But I know I was supposed to and could not manage to conjure up major drama from these outings. So what stands out to me is the quality of ease in being together. And that's what I'm going to celebrate. Maybe the lack of drama in our adventures. Just simple things like making daily choices of food and activities, deciding to be silent or giggling for a bit of time. Conversations about our spiritual paths and our children, our nourishing connections to nature, and more. It all seems really distinctive to have you as a special friend to share all of that. And even though the pandemic kept us from going to Findhorn in May, maybe we'll even have another chance to get to do that together. I also want to acknowledge your special quality of listening and offering compassion and insights. I feel blessed to have had so many opportunities to share life offerings of inspiration, challenge, distress, sadness, and uncertainty with you, and to feel your clear presence and understanding. How wonderful you are. I'm delighted to celebrate this notable birthday with you, and thank you for your specialness. With love and joy, Bonnie.
Happy birthday, Pat. 70. So I am speaking to the quality of Pat as an intuitive and healer. And I say those two words separately because I've known Pat since Coriana was an infant. And so that's 34-ish years, something like that. And before I knew Pat as a healer, I knew her as a devoted mom. And that, of course, involves a tremendous amount of intuition. And her sacrifice, I think, to put away her healing passion, calling for mothering for a number of years, I think was an equal dedication. So it's a shout out to Coriana and Ethan and to Pat for giving in that way, which I thought was very selfless. But after the kids got launched, I know Pat is an incredibly, how would I say, devoted calling to her healing, and how she's followed her thread through her own life and the lives of your family is just so touching to me, so artful. It's just such a gift. And so, I mean, I think where she started, we had similar roots in chiropractic, and before, you know, she went to chiropractic school, she was living off the land and doing all these other things, where I feel like in some way that she and I have never spoken of, I feel like that is the warp and the weft of your being, in a way, for her to live in the yurts out in nature and listen to, you know, be able to have enough quiet and stillness to listen to what your calling is, and then go get, you know, trained or whatever in that. And I felt like for Pat at the beginning, she was very, very steeped in chiropractic philosophy, which I am not. I am what is today in homeopathy is called a skeptic. But I've always felt like there was a bigger picture than chiropractic and what you were doing when you were touching people. And Pat and I, we never argued about it, but I was always blown away that she could actually like love it as much as she did, and not see the limitations that I saw in it all the time as a homeopath going, well, what about this? It's not there. And what about that? And we could talk about that stuff because we're both have the same similar training. But she was really steeped in this philosophy. And I have to say that envy is not the right word, but I always felt like if I could just believe all that, it would be so much easier in my life. I wouldn't have to be searching so hard. And so Pat like just dove in hook, line, and sinker to that piece of herself and followed that thread of intuition. And so, you know, when she went to this chiropractic school, Sherman, where they actually do, you know, what I would call straight chiropractic, the philosophy, the subluxation is the cause of disease. And I'm like, boy, I wish I could believe that. But she always really did. And I think because of that, like, it's been like a lighthouse for her, you know, blink, blink, just go that way. And because of her faith in that, she's had this very circuitous journey of an intuitive healer. And that led her to all of these other wholenesses, you know, learning the leg length checking, you know, tool that she uses, and trusting that, not just, you know, she learned motion palpation, all these other things, but it was like the idea of like following some other thread that she was listening to, which to me is her elf, know me, beautiful other part of her, you know, that is not science. It's what the land gave her. And places that she sought that out in, like Iceland, her telling the stories of finding a little, anyway, and I'm going on my own circuitous thing. But my point is, like, she is this embodied, I say vessel of enlightenment. I mean, and I really say that with reverence, because after or along the way, you know, the cranial work she learned with her hands, in spite of how much that agony, doing these particular kind of holds she did where your hands are like completely cranked like this. And I would take care of her for her wrist. And I'm like, Pat, how about another way? Like, you know, like, is there a plan B here? Because your wrists are not going to be able to stand doing this. But it's like, she would just, no, this is important. I need to do this. I know I have to do this work. It's incredibly important for people. So she would just do it at this amazing sacrifice. You know, she did not find a plan B. But I think in a certain way, I don't know, from some other planet found her, you know, and now I just love this evolution that Pat is doing in her healing. And it's like, so, you know, once you finish with the body, and of course, if anybody is a chiropractor or does any body work hands-on, you learn pretty quickly that the things you don't heal and can't get better are not really originating in the body. They're originating from some other place, right? So now that's where her work is. It's like she's gone, okay, well, this is where it's originating. So I'm just going to deal with this part. And and so I just love this evolution of her from going to, being steeped in this deep rooted philosophical tradition of chiropractic, then getting into the cranial work and all the innuendos of that, then going, okay, I need to deal with the soul of the person, and that will be homeopathy. But then they're also going to cross over, and I need to deal with that too. And I guess with respect to your dad, who has, I believe, been, as she says, a teacher to her, and her best friend Suki, who have now crossed and are guiding her in this beautiful transition to working with people. And I'm probably going to butcher it, but like the people who are crossing, their families, ones who have crossed, and her friends who, I think she told me last time I saw her that 3 people that she knows loves have crossed in very short order here, and that she's having these beautiful interactions with them. And this is all part of her training at the Elsound Center to be they may call, I don't know what they call it, but to me it's a spiritual life coach. I don't know what the name of it is. But I just feel that it's just such an incredible evolution. And to me, the roots of that in her Nomi, Elfie, this beauty that she shares, because she is a kindred soul, Pat Chanterelle, right? It's like that the path that she chose in the woods embodied her and has helped her evolve as like all the species in the woods. They grow, they fall, they decay, they are the seeds of new life. And as she's moved into this this new phase that is it just feels so complete to me. It's the whole circle, the sphere, the universe. And I have a tremendous respect for Pat and love.
Thank you, Wendy. That's phenomenal. Thank you. Recording you now.
Dear Pat, happy 70th birthday to you, dear friend. I have written a letter to you so that I can remember all that I want to express to you for your 70th birthday. Scott asked us to speak of one of your qualities that inspire us and to tell a story of something significant about you. Not an easy task. There is so much about you to be celebrated, especially on your 70th birthday. Since there are many qualities that I appreciate about you, and it is not easy to narrow it down to one, I will simply name a few which weave together into the main one I will focus on. I appreciate your ability to be authentic and natural. I love that you are ever a student and a teacher too, that you have a deep curiosity for life and a deep desire to learn and to use the wisdom and knowledge that you have acquired to enhance the gifts you offer to the world. I love your laugh, especially when it borders on silliness and mischief. There is kindness, ease, and groundedness in your nature that brings a sense of comfort and trust in you. Your adventuresome spirit is one of my favorite qualities, and I have enjoyed many outings and events with you over the years. However, the quality that I would like to focus on the most is the quality of compassionate service, so much a part of who you are. What I see in you is an innate essence of kindness, caring, wisdom, and knowledge that you gift to the world every day. It is made visible in the care that you give to your patients. Over the last 30 plus years, I have greatly benefited from your knowledge, wisdom, and healing touch, as well as your friendship. Many others have as well. I have seen this essence in the deep love you have for your children, Coriana and Ethan, as evidenced by all the love, care, guidance, and support that you offer to them, as well as giving so freely your love and care to your dad, and that you will always continue to give to your mom, your best friend. It is also easily evidenced in the love and care that you give to your four-legged friends, especially the great soul love that you had and continue to have for your beloved Ginger. It shines through in the love and support that you give to your human friends too, especially in their most difficult times. Friends such as Suki, who knew you were there for her. You have always been here for me in trying times too, and I am appreciative and thankful. Your desire to be of service has led you to stand up and advocate for holistic care, and to be an advocate for social justice and equality, and to stand up for our Mother Earth. You have an expansive ability to see the interconnection of all things, which greatly enhances your ability to be of service. The holistic, spiritual, and ecological way that you live your life every day is a testament to your desire to do the least harm and to be of the greatest service possible to benefit the well-being of all beings. Thank you, dear gift, for your gifts and blessings. For me, you embody the wise woman, the elder, the crone, and have done so for decades prior to your 70th birthday. This embodiment continues to grow brighter and stronger. Thank you for being on the planet at this time. Your gifts are needed now more than ever. May this upcoming solar year bless you 1,000-fold with all the richness you give to others. May magic delight your days. May you be immersed in resilience, strength, and courage. May there be peace and happiness in your heart. May your spirit continue to burn brightly on the earth plane in a healthy and vital body for decades to come, if that is your wish, so that you continue to benefit the transformation at hand. I love you, dear friend. With gratitude, Pearl.
Hold on, before you start doing that, just,
You are.
oh, I am. Okay. Whenever you're ready, then, Gary or Scott.
All right.
Hi, Pat. This is Ivan, obviously, and Marlene, Ivan and Marlene Beggs. Wishing you a happy birthday. And one of the traits I think about when I think about you is your teaching skill and the way you had a good touch for teaching. And back in 1988, you taught a course called Technologies for Creating. You did a wonderful job with that. In fact, so wonderful, it made a big impact on my life. And what I did was, for the past 32 years, since I've had that course, probably every day or certainly every week, I used the principles of it. And one of the things that occurred was I wrote a book, one book at least, about these 5 different religions. And that was about the Christianity and Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, and Hinduism, and finding out what the clerics would say about their religions and various 14 different topics, and what the lay people were thinking and saying. Well, that book turned into a book that I gave you a copy of, and that you were also influential on, was this one, Creating a Meaningful Life. And on page 341 of that book, which is the beginning of part 2, beginning of part 3, is how you, in a sense, went about teaching me to create, and these are suggestions for creating a meaningful life. That's in part 3. So you got me started with this book, which became part 2 of the book, and then your part really became part 3 of this book. And just for the heck of it, I threw in my first part of my life in part 1. So I have to thank you for that. That was a huge influence in my life. And then in turn, afterwards, after more discussions and thinking about it, I created this book, which is The American Mind in the Age of Trump. And it's talking about the coming theocracy and fascism, depending on how you look at it. And then eventually, because discussions with people in Germany, I translated it into German and then had a professional do a better job with it, that same book. So what you helped me do was to write these 4 books, among many other things, which I won't go into. And I know there's lots of stories about you. We love you, Pat. And one of the key characteristics has been teaching. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ivan.
Your nickel, Marlene.
Hi, Pat. This is Marlene, and I think of the many times we've been blessed to be in each other's physical presence, both in Ohio and Maine. I'm sure that neither one of us had any idea when we gave your farewell party in Ohio that we would have the opportunity to be in each other's physical presence so often. And I cannot think of just one of your strengths, but the strength that kept coming to my mind over the past few days is your ability of staying connected to your parents, to your siblings, to your adult children, to your Indiana and Ohio friends, to so many in the Waldorf community, to the Christian community, and of course the devotion, to all the ones in your healers group. But most important of all, you have stayed very connected to your life spirit, enabling you to be that special friend to so many that are delighted to celebrate your 70th birthday. So Pat, keep on leading from your heart during these next wisdom years. I'm sending my love across the ethers. Happy, happy birthday in Maine.
Enjoy the snow. And may you keep it there.
You're recording.
Happy birthday, Pat. I can't think of one story that wouldn't lead into a million others about our past together and all these 50 years or more of sharing birthdays together. But I just wanted to be part of this and tell you I love you. And Isaiah sends his love and says, you are the best godmother ever. And all of the children who know this is happening and said from Tim and Emma and Richard too, happy birthday to you. And I look forward to seeing what happens here. Bye-bye.
So now we're recording.
Happy 70th birthday.
Happy 70th birthday, Pat. Hold this for a minute, hon. I'm gonna move my neck a little bit. Okay. So a quality that we admire with Pat. I just love her sincerity, her focus. And when we're with her, it just feels like you're being wrapped in a warm blanket. She's just such an exceptional sister, really. Just love her to pieces. We met about over 30 years ago in Ohio when she was living here. I attended her birth with Ethan, and our little girls used to play together, Corey. And over the years, we met in Boston, we met in Maine, New York, at Spring Valley. And she's just been such a treasure each time we've been together. The other thing I wanted to say is she sends these wonderful, heartfelt gifts and cards. And she would always share her notes from different workshops. And we had so many great conversations on the phone. But over the years, my hearing got worse and worse, and we couldn't do that anymore. So we write to each other an email. But her support has been just invaluable. My husband doesn't know Pat as well as I do. You know, and my children are, over the years, you know, we've lost contact with Pat's kids, but I would love for them to get together at some point because my kids are all in healing profession with medicine. And then her daughter is, and her son is definitely going in that direction. So, job well done, Pat. And also, she made it to 70 working, and she's so looking forward to retiring half-time, maybe, having more time for herself. So, Brad, do you want to say anything?
I just want to second the motion that in terms of developed human beings, Pat is at the top of the list. She really is a special, special person.
Also, a plug for your mother, because I've only met her a few times, but Pat and her mom went on a little road trip about 3 years ago, and they stopped here on the way back from Indiana. And your mom, I mean, she doesn't have to say anything. It just, I just was so attracted to her humility and her being. I just loved her. So I'm so glad Pat's there for her now that your dad has passed on. Because she's not young. She's about the age my mother is, 95. But she's still going strong. That's what we want Pat to get to, 95. Okay.
Oh, Pat.
So hold on a second. I just started the recording. Okay, now you can go.
The quality that I have learned to love about Pat over these years is her compassion. That her compassion during the last couple of years, my partner has been sick, and Pat's compassion has really helped us through a couple of rough spots. So I have to say her compassionate side. And my story about Pat goes back many years. When she was a young feminist, and my partner Nancy was managing the Down East Housing Program, and Pat came to work as the only female in that program. I'm sure you remember her in those days. So she was working with a housing crew, and they were building a house, and the last part of it was putting on a roof, and it was hotter than Hades. So all of the boys took off their shirts, and Pat said, they can do it, I can do it, and off came her shirt, and Charlie about fell off the roof. If you can remember, Pat was quite attractive and in very great condition. And after that, I think the boys wore their shirts every day.